So I have these pants that are really short on me that I'd like to lengthen, but I didn't have enough material. So first, fold them in half and line them up perfectly because we're going to cut both of them at the same time so that both legs match each other. Once they're really straight and flat and lined up, I used a straight ruler on top of my cutting mat so I would make sure all my lines are perfectly straight and the same size. And I cut mine at about 1.5 inches on each of them and just cut straight across both legs. So then I cut a few, and it really helped using the ruler because then I could make sure again that everything was the exact same. Decide how many you want. I cut 4, but then I actually went back. If you look at the end video, I did 1 more I wanted a little extra length still. Keep in mind that you're going to lose some of this length for seam allowance too as we sew this together. Once you have as many as you want, get out tulle or mesh, whatever you want to use for in between, and you want to fold it in half twice so that there's 4 layers on top of each other. And then I trimmed off the top to make sure it's a really straight edge at the top. And I did 1.5 inch strips of this as well so that they're the exact same as the pant leg sections. They don't have to be the same if you don't want. You could do bigger mesh panels, smaller mesh panels. You could just do one giant mesh panel. It's completely up to you. You could even make them different colors if you want. That might be kind of cool. But you need the exact same amount of mesh panels as you have for your leg panels. So I cut 4 leg panels. I need to cut 4 mesh panels. And eventually when I added 1 extra, I cut 1 extra of the leg and mesh. So then I took my scissors and I cut open the sides because it was folded on both sides. So I cut those open so that they'd lay flat. And I did both sides, trying to not unfold them at all so everything would stay really, really even while I was cutting it. There we go. Okay, so then I'm going to take one of the pant legs and open the seam on each side with a seam ripper because I'm going to have to be able to sew the front sections together and then the back sections together. So I'm going to seam rip about 1.5 inches up each side of the legs. And then I also need to seam rip all of the pant leg strips open so that it's not a full circle. You have a front side and a back side. And when you do that, make sure you keep them laid out in order and on top of each other so you know which ones are the front, which ones are the back, and what order they get attached back to the pant. So first I take a mesh piece and right sides together. I'm just going to pin it just to hold it in place and sew across that bottom. I used my serger just to give it a really nice edge. And then I ironed it really well, and I did an invisible stitch to hold that ironed out of the way so that you can't see the seam through the mesh. It's attached to the top of the leg. So once I got that all stitched together, we're going to just go ahead and keep doing the rest of them. So now let's seam rip open these leg panels if you haven't already. And I'm keeping track of, once again, which one is the top of the front of the pant leg and which one is the back of the pant leg, because they're not typically the same length and you don't want to accidentally sew a back section of pant leg to the front of the pant leg when you reattach it, because then we're going to lose some of the width of our pants down at the ankle. So then again, right sides together, just attach that next pant panel, and then we're going to grab another mesh panel And all my mesh ones are the exact same length, so it doesn't really matter which one I use of those. And then just sew across that bottom there. Again, iron them really well and invisible stitch the pant leg seams to the solid pant that you can't see through, so that you don't see any seams from the right side. Now I'm going to turn the pant leg completely inside out once both sides of the pant leg are done. And we're going to line up all of those solid pieces. You can pin them if you want. I think that that's really helpful. And then start on the pant leg that's still put together and sew all the way down each side. And then just trim and iron all of that. I hope you enjoyed this. I'd love to